Yo, what up, what up, what up, what up? Season
What's
2,
up?
episode 22 of the podcast. We got some students here from Sacramento State. We're live, baby. We're live on Facebook. We're live on LinkedIn. We're live on YouTube. We're here to talk about some business, some entrepreneurship, and what's going on in Sacramento State. Season 2, episode 22 of the podcast, a podcast where I highlight Sacramento area entrepreneurs, people that are doing just really, really cool stuff in the community. People that are friends of mine, people that just are just doing awesome stuff. I got two really, really great friends of mine. I got AZ, president of the Hive CSUS and the Entrepreneurship Club. And then I got my girl Joselyne here, who is a graduating senior. Let's give her a nice little shout out. Yeah. These two students are going to do some really, really cool stuff in the future. So I'm really excited to have them on the podcast. AZ, Joselyne, what's going on?
Nothing much.
Nothing much. AZ, give us some context, brother. What's going on at CSUS? What are you doing there, man? And then we'll go to Joselyne.
Yeah, a lot of cool stuff's going on at Sac State, especially surrounding entrepreneurship and innovation.
Okay.
First came into Sac State as a freshman and got plugged into the Carlson Center for Innovation Entrepreneurship. Then we realized we need to grow the student community, and that was kind of our mission. Me, Cameron Law, Arlene, everyone in the Carlson Center wanted to grow the student community. So in the heart of 2020, March 2020, we founded the Hive CSUS, which is now the official entrepreneurship club on campus. So we started March 2020. Obviously, not the best time to start a student club to do in-person events, so we started online. But last semester, fall semester, we kicked off all of our events, and now we're doing cool things. And that's where we met you through our Mentor Friday event. So
yeah, and that was really cool. Thank you so much for having me on for Mentor Friday. That was super fun. I got to talk a little bit about BLKBOX Mobile Fitness, me as a fitness professional, and I got to go back to campus, which was cool. I graduated in 2015. I was a former student athlete, a prime member of Sigma Chi. And it just brought back so many memories. So thank you so much for the opportunity. It was so fun. It's really cool just going back and being on campus, and just it's growing so much. The students there, it's just really, it was a really amazing part of my life. So I'm super grateful. AZ, shout out to you, brother. You're doing great, really, really cool stuff. Joselyne, give us a little bit of context of what you're doing at Sac State.
Hi, so my name is Joselyne. I'm a communications major at Sac State. I also helped actually AZ and our former president Kashav. It was kind of like a really last minute thing. Kashav was like, hey, you want to be treasurer? I was like, yeah, let's go for it. And I guess that was a start of my, type of entrepreneurial journey there as a club member at the Hive. But I'm also working on a project. It's called the Protechtor. It's a little startup I have going on at Sac State. It's a multi-purpose self-defense device for women and includes an app for safety. Yeah. And I'm not sure if you guys are aware, but every 25 seconds a violent crime is committed. And I hope that with this device, I can go ahead and help many women in the community and lower those rates.
Yeah, that's amazing, Joselyne. I know just recently, right, there was an incident on campus where there was somebody on a bike, right, or something like that. I just saw, right? Yeah. That's really cool. Yeah, that's really important. I'm really cool. That's really cool that you're doing that. You're taking on the startup, you're taking on this entrepreneurial kind of journey right here. Women every day are just stigmatized, and they're just so many violent crimes going on, and they could easily be taken advantage of. So shout out to you, Joselyne, for doing that. At what stage are you in right now with your product?
Yeah, thanks. So I recently added a couple of students, a business major, and I think design. Yeah, she's in design, and we're right now surveying around campus.
Okay.
And we're actually in the works right now of prototyping at the Hacker Lab here in Sacramento.
Love it.
And we're also right now just gathering information and see what people would like to see on the safety app.
Yeah.
So I guess kind of idea stage prototyping, you could say.
Yeah, well, that's sick. I wish you all the best. If there's anything I can do for you, I'd love to help. Guys, as to start off this conversation about entrepreneurship, and from a student perspective, right? You guys are really young. You guys are going through school. You guys are going through classes. What is this kind of because entrepreneurship has really become really popular in the last couple of years for various reasons. Social media, you have access to all these entrepreneurs. What is it about entrepreneurship right now on campus at Sacramento State that has people talking more about it from that perspective? AZ, from you being the president, from being around other students, taking your classes, Because I know for me, back when I was a student, it wasn't really as popular, or maybe I wasn't hanging around with those people as much. And entrepreneurship wasn't something that was in my head because I was a student athlete and I was doing really well in school and stuff like that. So like AZ, and then back to Joselyne, from the perspective of entrepreneurship right now in college, what is that like right now?
I think it's buzzing right now. I think when I'm talking to students, I think back then when I talked to even graduates of, let's say like past 2010, they'll talk about entrepreneurship and say, like we have our entrepreneur residence who's an entrepreneurship major, graduated from Cal Poly a while back. But in her opinion, she felt like the entrepreneur majors and people working on businesses felt like the black sheep, right? But I think with everything that's happening with Web3 and with people being more open about you starting businesses, it's honestly becoming a hot topic. And 100%. I think it's really, really cool for students to be interested in that stuff because it shows them alternative paths to success, right? So we've had students that are like working and doing CS full time and they're learning about like Java, but they want to do something related to fitness or something like that, right? Or they want to code like a fitness app. So it opens so many doors for students to look outside of the traditional job pathway. And you know this as an entrepreneur yourself, you have so much freedom, location 100%. Freedom, time freedom, financial freedom. Students are really understanding that. And I think when tapping into the Hive, Joselyne's a part of a 9 or a 12-week cohort with 8 different teams. Most of them are student teams that are working on their businesses while simultaneously doing midterms, doing classes, keeping up their personal image. Like it can be a lot, but I think it's the drive and the push that a lot of students need to kind of like reach for their personal goals. So I think that's where I stand. It's just super exciting for everyone.
That's cool. No, it really is exciting. Yeah, it really is exciting. And you mentioned a lot of things, like being a student is already hard enough in itself. A lot of students are broke. There's not money coming in. You're working on your project and it's not easy, man. It's not easy. Even once you become a full-time entrepreneur like myself, it's still not easy. There's still other things that you have to do. Joselyne, from your perspective, what is entrepreneurship like in your kind of mindset or in your kind of perspective right now being a student as a graduating senior?
So I'd say for me, kind of how AZ said too, right now is like it's buzzing. Like I think right now it's a hot topic. But for me, I think networking is very, very important. And 100%. I think the Hive has really provided that. And Cameron and Jesse, they're so supportive of that as well. And they've been bringing in their community and, networking with their also community members. Like, I think it's really helpful because how they say your network is your net worth. So being in college, that's the hub, I think the hub spot to be at. Yeah. And I think it's only starting and I hope it just grows after. I hope we leave a really good mark there at Sac State.
Yeah, me too, because, entrepreneurship is important, right? We need more innovators. We need more creative people to really, change the world and kind of what's going on around business, entrepreneurship, and kind of like move on from the old way of doing things with a lot of industries, right? So, Joselyne, I think you said something really important is having support. For you both as students, I thought of like mentorship and I thought of like learning from other people that have already, kind of done what you're trying to do or trying to accomplish something similar. AZ, what is like, have you thought about mentorship? Do you currently have a mentor? Like, who are you learning from? Where are you getting your education from that's not from school?
Yeah, I think that's a really good question. I think mentorship is really, really important. And it comes in like many different forms of mentorship.
Of course.
Like when I first jumped into entrepreneurship, I told this story when I was a freshman, talking about like my very first startup that I wanted to build surrounding personal finance. My mentor wasn't a real person. It was someone, they were a real person, but I got mentorship from a book. So like, I think a lot of people, their entry point into entrepreneurship and different way of thinking is Rich Dad, Poor Dad. So I read that book when I was like 16, 17, and that kind of set the tone for things. Since then, it's been different mentors from the community. When I went through some cohorts with the Carlson Center, like shout out to Luciano Olviado. He was one of my first mentors to kind of help me walk through how to build a startup, how to talk to customers. And then I would say right now, my biggest mentor is probably Cameron Law at the Carlson Center. He's an amazing leader who he helps me communicate with anyone in a professional manner. And he's just a role model that I really think I look up to and I always look to for advice.
That's amazing, man. Even with me, when I was starting out my fitness grind, when I was going through gyms, having a mentor is super important because you can learn from them it's for free. They're giving you for free value. You can literally learn their operations. And that's how I learned. And that's how I became a fitness professional. Joselyne, same question to you, girl. Like, as far as mentorship, as far as getting value from other people, where are you getting your education from? That's not from school.
Honestly, I'd say that so at the cohort, I was connected with a mentor, Caroline here.
Okay.
And she was a great mentor for me. I think I had her for a couple of weeks as
Amazing.
well. And I feel like as far as mentorship goes, and also Jesse and Cameron Law as well, like they've been super helpful. I'm not sure how they manage mentoring all these students all at once, but it's been super helpful. And I think as, being a mentor, it just really gives you I guess you say that discipline to make sure that you get everything done. Like they keep you on track and they make sure that you're staying aligned, and then someone that you can go back and get feedback and, just really learn from. So I'd say, those have been my 3 mentors, and I hope I heard that you get multiple mentors in your lifetime. So I'm open for any mentor, Yeah,
that's awesome.
Always a student.
Of course. And that's really incredible. And an incredible value, incredible point of view is having that growth mindset kind of right? Is you're not going to know everything. Like for me, right? I'm good at a lot of things. I'm not the best at one thing, and I'm super cool with that. I think it's really placed in my favor. And having a growth mindset and learning, being a practitioner, learning about everything is really important to me. Guys, when we talk a little bit about having multiple traits, right? Knowing a lot about everything. For you guys, do you guys envision yourself as as operators? And because in entrepreneurship, right, as you move up, I think sometimes people think that just because they move up, they kind of forget about what got them there, right? And for me, a good example is coaching fitness, and doing all that stuff, right? Being at the gym, doing those things is what helped get me to where I'm at right now. And doesn't mean that just because I'm here, I don't get to do that stuff anymore, right? So for you guys, having that growth mindset, as you move up in your career, do you guys enjoy the process of learning and getting to where you're at? What is that process like? Because sometimes, being a student, I know this happened for me too, is I want to finish, I want to get done, I want to move on to my next thing. What is that process like for you guys? Are you guys enjoying the process of being a student and learning and being in class and networking? Because that was a really important part of my life. So for you guys, Joselyne, you can speak first. Do you like that process, or do you just want to go out there and start working?
Honestly, I'm really enjoying the process. I think as I'm elevating, I'm getting, more and more connections. I just really want to help others that, bring them on with me as well, because I feel like all the resources that I'm learning right now and I'm getting from, I just want to pass it down and help others as well, because, everyone starts somewhere, and I just want to help others as well grow, because I think it's amazing being an entrepreneur and being able to, get these opportunities that many might not know of and things like that. So as I'm growing, just building people, helping them come with me, because, it's just building community.
I love it. What about you, AZ?
Yeah, I think when it comes to that side of things, I got some really good advice recently, because I think going back to your point of just trying to learn a lot about one thing or being good at many other things, it's hard to understand as an individual what you're going to do. I think everything, for me at least, I know I want to be an entrepreneur. I don't want to be in that space. But I think for me, it's still just a guess. And I got some really good advice yesterday. I was talking to someone, and I was kind of going through that thing where it's I do a lot of stuff, but I feel like I'm just running in circles, right? But some advice that she mentioned to me was that I should follow the people, the people that I really resound with, and where my tribe is. And I think my tribe, going on in life, is always going to be surrounding entrepreneurship. Venture capital might be an option for me as well. So I think following the people has been kind of what I've been doing, and then showing up to places where I can put myself into the position where doors can open up for me. So I've worked on many different startups in many different spaces. We were talking before we went live about crypto, and that's something I'm super big into right now. I'm not fully into the weeds, but I'm learning just enough to be dangerous. So I think that's going to be my philosophy for everything.
Of course. And you guys, that's amazing. You guys live in a really, really, really cool time as far as being a student, because these emergence of NFT, cryptocurrency, just alternative ways of making a living, and obviously entrepreneurship and stuff like that. As far as distraction, guys, it's just distractions go. For a student, right? You have partying, you got your schoolwork, you might be working a job, you're really growing as a person. You're really learning so much about yourself, and it's going to continue evolving once you graduate. Joselyne, for you, what is that process like for you in regards to like there's just so much going on in your life right now at the time. At this point in your life, how do you choose like what you want to put your time in? Obviously, graduation is super important, so like that needs to be, I'm assuming a big priority for you.
Yeah.
How do you navigate all these distractions from partying, going out? I'm not sure if you party, but like just all these things going on in your life right now. How do you navigate that, having an entrepreneurial and a business mindset?
Yeah, so I just really try to keep a balance. I try to keep a balance, and then also, prioritize what I really want to get done.
Totally.
So, I focus on my school, I focus on my project, and then I just try not to get too burnt out. And then I do go on parties sometimes, just because I think it's good to have some downtime, because if 100%. Not, you just get really burnt out. Totally. So I think it's just about balance and having good time as well, because if you just work, you just get burnt out. So it's finding a good balance in between that and prioritizing everything that needs to get done.
Yeah, that's great value. What about you, AZ?
Yeah, I think my view on academics have really changed over the years as I started getting into entrepreneurship. I think something that gave me a little bit more reassurance of like me not being the perfect straight A student like I was in high school. I think I walked in like Mark Haney's office, and then he had this like wooden cutout, and it said C students need love too. And I was like, okay. So that was just kind of my signal to maybe not stress too much about my academics. Obviously, I'm still on top of it. But when it comes to everything else and finding that balance, I think something that can be actionable for any of the listeners. For me, what really helps me is scheduling and things outside of like the productivity, outside of the startup stuff first. And I think you mentioned this when you came in for Mentor Friday. Like, it's really important to maybe schedule in the time for your loved ones or time for your self-care first. And then tackle the task list of like, okay, I have to trade today in my case, or like I have to handle these things for the club. Yes, it's important to get that stuff done, and I try to stay on top of it. But I'm gonna get burnt out if I don't take care of like talking to my loved ones, taking some time for myself, and
100%.
Taking care of my dog in my case.
Yeah, man, I feel it, brother. So do I. I have a dog too. Being intentional about your time is going to be really important as you move up in life. As you tackle all these different projects, as you build these businesses, hopefully that you guys are trying to accomplish, like being intentional about your time. Obviously, like there is a business side, but there's also a personal side, right? Your own health and well-being, your own self-care. Exercise is important, like all these different things, right? You need to eat, like all the sleep. There's so many different parts that go play a role in entrepreneurship and business that people aren't really aware of. For you two, Joselyne, as you've progressed through college, you're graduating this semester. Congratulations. You're gonna, this is a really, really cool time for you right now. What have you seen? What have you changed? Or what has become different about you and your persona, your person? What have you learned so far about yourself, like in these last 4, 5, 6 years of college that you've been in? Like, what has that process been like for you?
Good question. So I think the process for me has been, how I mentioned again, like networking, because I think as I'm going to graduate, the people that I've met, they're also going to go ahead and, keep on going with me. They're going to move with me as I also grow. Sure. So I think that's something that I didn't know before starting college. Like, I feel, and it just kind of took me to that direction where it's like I met these people and they're still helping me, and they've offered to help me even after college. So I think that's super interesting and that's super helpful for me.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think, AZ, do you want to add anything onto this?
AZ, as far as like, you coming from a freshman, I know you guys were AZ, you were in a really weird time to be a student. I think you were mentioning that this is your first semester actually being on campus as a student. Is that correct?
I had one semester my freshman year in the fall, and then spring 2020 wiped out.
For sure, man. This is a really weird, awkward time for a lot of students, man. You've grown a lot, obviously. Like, what can you tell me about growth, about perspective shift, about just from you becoming starting as a freshman to where you are now?
Yeah, I think like everyone when they're a freshman is completely naive, and I'm different, right? I literally had no idea what anything in business or the real world was like. I didn't know how to write an email. I didn't have an email signature. I was ending things with like, yo, I was just doing a bunch of crazy stuff that I would never do now. Right. But it was like the guidance and the mentorship and like those learning opportunities that I've gotten just from showing up to different things. Like, if I didn't go to the Carlson Center events, I would still be working on businesses, but I probably would just be so like off the path. Like, I would be so off the path from where I'm supposed to be. So I think in terms of growth, like, it was really hard being virtual, man.
Yeah.
Like I was working on a startup virtually when I was a freshman all the way to like, I think the end of my sophomore year. And then we like that business shut down. So there was like a 6-month period where I was just trying to figure things out. I couldn't get out the house. I was gaming maybe like 14, 15 hours a day, literally like not exercising, like just in a very bad place. But then like time moves on and then you learn your lessons. And now I feel like I'm doing a lot better when I'm able to surround myself with community. So being through COVID and going through like virtual learning, didn't learn much virtually, but like I think that was a crazy experience.
Although me and you met virtually actually in the cohort. So it's like it has perks as well. Yeah, we met virtually.
That's awesome. I love that. That's really cool. And you know, AZ, you said something really important is like, how do people learn differently, right? For me, when I'm coaching someone could be good verbally, right? I could coach them verbally. They know what they're learning, right? Some people have to be more tactile. I have to put them in positions, right? Some people are visual learners. So as entrepreneurs, kind of figuring out your learning style is really, really important. You know, AZ, let's talk about the Carlson Center and the Hive. Like, what is that at Sacramento State? What does that offer students for people that don't know? And even for people like me, alumni, and people that watch my stuff, how can they become connected to the Carlson Center if they have a business or if they have entrepreneurship tendencies or if they all of a sudden have this like kind of urge to like start their own business? What is the Hive CSUS? What is the Carlson Center? And what does it provide the community?
Oh, I'm so happy you asked this question. I think I'm like the biggest advocate for the Carlson Center because they really have done so much for me and so many other students. They have so many case studies of students really trying to build from 0 to 1 businesses, and they have a lot of good results from that, right? That's awesome. So the Carlson Center for Innovation Entrepreneurship, I see it as a regional hub for entrepreneurship and innovation in Sacramento. And they're really doing their best to make entrepreneurship and innovation pervasive throughout the greater Sacramento region. That's by, they break it down to 3 steps, I think. So an entrepreneur could either be at build. So that's where you're starting out your business, it's at the idea stage and you want to build it out. And then you have that like scale. So they have curriculum, they have the resources to help you scale that idea. And then once it's scaled, it's ready to launch, then they're going to give you those launch opportunities. So those connections to VCs, angel investors, and really walk you through that process, no matter where you are as an entrepreneur. And the Hive fits perfectly within the Carlson Center as being the student community that lives within this regional hub. So we really take care of 2 missions and 1 vision, right? So our first mission is to establish entrepreneurial mindset into students. So you don't always have a business to be an entrepreneur. And then second is just developing the ideas of students that come in. So if they have a business, we want to develop their idea hand in hand with the Carlson Center. And then a big push this semester and beyond is, I think you mentioned this in the beginning of the podcast, is silos. There's so many silos in different departments, and like whether it's the business department or the ECS department, entrepreneurship is really about bridging the gap between all departments for collaboration, entrepreneurship, and innovation. So a big push for us is to make sure the business college and the ECS college, the arts and letter college, all of them can come together and work on businesses and then really build for better here at Sac State.
I love it. That's incredible value, man. Shout out to the Carlson Center. Shout out to, I mean, you know, like I said, when I was a student, entrepreneurship was something that I wasn't even thinking about. I learned entrepreneurship as I got into the gym business. So, I mean, that would have been such a cool resource if I was in that mindset back when I was a student, to see like, it would be interesting to see where I'd be at right now. But like, I mean, you guys are in a really, really cool spot, really cool opportunity to tap in, you know, with the Carlson Center and the Hive. You know, guys, as we finish up the podcast, we're 23 minutes in, 24 minutes in. Again, season 2, episode 22. I got some students here. I got AZ. I got Joselyne. Joselyne is graduating this semester. Shout out to her. You know, guys, as we wrap up here, what are some important lessons that you've learned from college, the college experience, that maybe someone can learn from you? What kind of value have you gotten from the university system as you've kind of moved along? I'll start with you, Joselyne. You're graduating. Like, what are some things that you've learned about yourself, being in college, going through classes, and now starting your career here, you know, after the summer? Like, what is that? What are some things that you've learned?
I think what I've learned is kind of how AZ mentioned, you know, don't get too defined by your grades, you 100%. Know, get degrees, follow your passions, and find the right resources to help you in order to follow what your dreams and your goals are. Because sometimes us as students, we're so stuck on one path, but there's like many other paths as well. So just keep an open mind and push forward.
Of course, that's incredible value. AZ, you're still in school, brother. What are some things, some lessons, some value? What have you learned from being a student at Sacramento State? College can be scary for a lot of people. 18, 19-year-old kids going to college, possibly moving away from home for the very first time, being independent, man, moving far away from home sometimes if they're not student athletes, right? They come in as students and just virtually not knowing anyone, man. Like, I know you're pretty local, but what have you learned so far as far as being a student that somebody else can take away from this podcast?
Yeah, I definitely have like the same perspective as Joselyne, and just trying to echo the fact that you're not stuck on one path. But I think I was just thinking about this. I was about to tear up, and like your story, Dorian, of when you're at Sac State, I think this is something that students need to know, is that you need to check on other students, right? Like you don't know what they're going through. So
100%.
I think that is something I want to just really echo. I worked in student affairs, and I worked with so many students who were disadvantaged, like no money in their bank account. And it's really important to check on the people that are in class with you. You never know what's going on with them. So
100%, brother. I appreciate you. I appreciate you being so vulnerable. For me, for anybody that's ever watched my content, man, I was homeless. I didn't have shit. Like, I mean, I used to sleep in the bathroom at Sac State. It's something that was stuck at the time, you know what I mean? But at the same time, there's just some things that you keep kind of close to you. You don't want other people to know, and that's just how I approached it. And I'm so glad to be in a place where I'm at. That's really good for me now. I'm so super, super grateful to be where I'm at right now. And you're right, man. There's resources like the pantry, right? ASI has the pantry where they give some food out for some students, which is cool. I think you're right, man. Being vulnerable, having that conversation, checking up on other people, checking up on other students, man, it's really important, because you might be in a class with 200 people. Maybe 10 of those people don't know where the hell they're going to get their meal in the next couple hours, right? They don't have anywhere to go to. They might be living in their car, right? College is hard. It's really, really hard if you don't have a community, if you don't have resources, if you don't have a family to back you up, man. So thank you so much for being so vulnerable. It really means it's really important that other students, obviously you guys are all going through your own journey, but checking up on each other, right? Because you guys are part of your community. You're a part of Sacramento State. You guys are all students together. So, being a part of each other's lives is really important. I'm glad that you guys have that with the community that you've built at the Hive, at the Carlson Center, where you guys have a safe place to go to and talk about ideas, talk about what's going on in your life, because that's really, really important. And you're going to need those people as you go on and graduate, and as more people enter and leave your life. So that's really important. Guys, to finish up the podcast, I really appreciate you guys being on. Again, I got AZ, Joselyne here, season 22, episode 22 of the podcast. Amazing students. Guys, for some entrepreneurship value, right? What are some things, as we leave the podcast, what are some things, Joselyne, that people can take away about entrepreneurship and about business that you have learned?
Believe in yourself and follow your passions. That's all I got to say, because if you don't believe in yourself, I don't think anyone else will.
Amazing. This is coming from a 24-year-old woman, so that's incredible. Good job, Joselyne. What about you, AZ?
I think for me, one piece of advice that always helped me for startup ideas and business in general is if your ideas don't leave the building, then they're not really going to be a business, right? So talk to people about the business ideas that you have, enjoy community, and get that feedback so that you could build businesses far beyond what you even dreamed them to be. So
I love it, guys. I love it. That's an incredible value.
Thank you for having us, Dorian.
What's up?
I said thank you so much for having us.
No, thank you for being on. I appreciate it. I'm super grateful. I'm a connector, so I love people. If I had the opportunity to meet everyone in Sacramento, everyone in the world, everyone that ever came into my life, and actually have a genuine relationship, I would so do that, because everyone has a story. Everyone's up to something. Everyone's got some creativity in their head, and I just want to get to know more people and be a part of their life. And if there's anything I could do for you guys are always feel free to ask. I'm I love people, and without my story, without the people that have believed in me, without the people that have, helped me along the way, I wouldn't be where I'm at today. So thank you so much for watching. I appreciate it. Season 2 or episode 22 of the podcast. I got AZ, I got Joselyne. Thank you so much for being on. We talk entrepreneurship. We talk some business. And shout out to, again, to Joselyne for graduating this semester. We're going to give her one more applause. Yeah.
Thanks so much, Marian.
Yeah, another student graduating. AZ, you're next, brother. You guys are going to do really, really cool shit in the future. So I'm excited. Thank you so much for being a part of my life. And thank you so much for being on the podcast.
Thank you.
Of course.
Yeah.